This is Barcelona. Just 10 years ago, you could rent a decent apartment here for around 650 euros a month. Today, that same apartment costs 1,100 euros, a 70% increase that's left locals scrambling for shelter. But this isn't just happening in Barcelona. Across Spain, a housing nightmare is unfolding that's forcing an entire generation to abandon their dreams of ever owning a home. Consider this. In 2024, the average Spanish worker earns 2,337 euros per month. But in cities like Madrid, they need to spend 44% of that income just to keep a roof over their heads. In the Balearic Islands, it's even worse. 58.6% of income goes straight to housing. This means that after paying rent, many Spaniards have barely enough left for food, let alone savings. The numbers tell a shocking story. Over the past decade, Spanish rents have doubled while wages have grown by just 20%. House prices have surged 44% nationally, with some regions seeing increases of over 250%. Today, 65.9% of young adults aged 18 to 34 still live with their parents, the highest rate in Europe. This isn't a lifestyle choice, it's economic imprisonment. And the human cost? Every single day, 80 Spanish families are evicted from their homes. The homeless population has jumped 24% in just 10 years, reaching over 28,000 people. But here's what makes this crisis even more infuriating. Spain actually has 3.8 million empty homes, roughly 10% of all housing stock, sitting vacant while families sleep on the streets. How did one of Europe's most vibrant countries reach this breaking point? To understand Spain's housing catastrophe, we need to look at the perfect storm of factors that created it. A tourism boom that's eating cities alive, foreign investors treating homes like stock portfolios, and a government that waited too long to act. Let's start with tourism. In 2024, Spain welcomed 94 million tourists, nearly double its own population. While tourism pumps 60 billion euros into the economy annually, it's also destroying the housing market. In Barcelona alone, there are over 10,000 licensed tourist apartments that used to house local families. Across Spain, 321,000 homes have been converted to short-term rentals. The math is devastating. Property owners can earn double the income from tourists compared to long-term tenants. In popular neighborhoods, over 60% of apartments are now holiday rentals. Studies from the University of Malaga found that areas where tourist rentals exceed 10% of housing see rents spike by 31 to 33%. Every additional 10% of tourist apartments drives prices up another €3.29 per square meter. Take the story of one Madrid neighborhood where an investment fund bought an entire building housing 100 families. Not a single lease was renewed. Every apartment was converted to tourist accommodation. This scene is repeating across Spain as locals are systematically replaced by vacationers. But tourism is just one piece of the puzzle. Foreign buyers now snap up 14.6% of all Spanish properties. That's 93,000 homes per year going to non-residents. In hotspots like Alicante, foreigners buy 45.67% of all properties. The Balearic Islands? 32.81%. These buyers pay premiums of 2,522 euros per square meter versus 1,622 euros for resident foreigners, driving prices beyond local reach. The Golden Visa program, which granted residency to wealthy foreigners who invested in property, may have only created 15,149 visas over 11 years. But its psychological impact was profound. It sent a clear message that Spanish homes were for sale to the highest international bidder, not for Spanish families. Meanwhile, Spain faces a crushing supply shortage. The country needs to build 240,000 new homes annually just to meet demand. How many were actually built in 2024? Just 112,220. This gap of over 100,000 homes per year means the shortage deepens annually. Between 2020 and 2022 alone, Spain created 420,000 new households but started construction on only 300,000 homes. Even worse, Spain has virtually no social housing. Just 2.5% of homes are publicly owned, compared to 30% in the Netherlands or 24% in Austria. The government completed only 8,646 subsidized homes in 2023, a drop in the ocean when 150,000 affordable units are needed annually. The financial barriers have become insurmountable. Banks demand 20 to 30% down payments. That's 40,000 to 200,000 euros in cash up front for typical properties. First-time buyers face debt-to-income caps of 35 to 40%, effectively barring anyone earning under 3,000 euros monthly. The average Spanish household now needs between 4 and 12 years of gross income to buy a home, depending on location. This has created a generational catastrophe. Only 32% of under 35s own property compared to 80% of over 65s. Before the 2008 crisis, 60% of young people lived in owned homes. Today's youth leave their parents' homes at 29.8 years old, over 3 years later than the EU average. An entire generation has been locked out of wealth building through property ownership. The social fabric is tearing apart. Essential workers in tourist areas can't find housing. Some tourism employees in the Balearic Islands sleep in vehicles because they can't afford local rents. Even police officers struggle to find accommodation during deployments. Restaurants and hotels face staff shortages, not because people don't want to work, but because workers literally cannot afford to live where the jobs are. Regional variations reveal the crisis's true scope. In the Balearic Islands, housing costs consume 58.6% of income, and prices hit 4,512 euros per square meter. Barcelona shows 51.9% affordability effort rates with rents at 21.1 euros per square meter. Even supposedly affordable regions face an oil stain effect as priced-out city residents spread outward, driving up costs in areas 50-plus kilometers from urban centers. Public anger has exploded. In April 2025, hundreds of thousands marched across 40 Spanish cities. Over 150,000 protesters filled Madrid's streets alone, rattling keys as symbols of the homes they'll never own. Surveys show Spaniards now rank housing affordability as the nation's most pressing crisis. The 2023 housing law introduced rent caps of 3% annually and created stressed market areas with tenant protections. But key regions like Madrid and Andalusia refused to implement these measures. A new 100% tax on non-EU foreign buyers might affect just 27,000 annual purchases. Meaningful, but not transformative. Even Barcelona's dramatic ban on all 10,101 tourist apartments by 2028 only addresses one city. The proposed 6 billion euros for 25,000 new homes? It's a fraction of what's needed. Young buyer subsidies cap at properties worth 120,000 euros, essentially limiting help to remote rural areas where jobs don't exist. Spain stands at a crossroads. Without dramatic intervention, doubling construction rates, massively expanding social housing, and fundamentally reimagining tourism's role, the country risks creating a permanent underclass of renters. Spanish baby boomers own 8 times more wealth than millennials, with real estate worth 18.09 trillion euros versus millennials' 5.55 trillion euros. This gap will only widen. The Spanish housing nightmare isn't just about economics, it's about the death of a social contract. When teachers, nurses, and police officers can't afford to live in the communities they serve, when young families see home ownership as an impossible fantasy, when 80 families face eviction every single day, society itself begins to fracture. Spain must decide, will housing remain a human right, or will it become just another asset for the global wealthy? The clock is ticking, and for millions of Spaniards, time has already run out.